jelly tips.
Christmas on the beach.
Jet planes.
Pavlova.
Tubeless.
Gene Bannon.
Bungee jumps.
Here we are, trying to outdo each other on YNZ's the best. Feel free to go outside and enjoy the view. We'll be a while.
Dan Carter's Undie campaign.
Welcome to Southland Mitahiku in New Zealand's Deep South, a region renowned for its unmatched beauty. This week it provides a natural playground for New Zealand's best road cyclists in the 66th edition of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Over 7 days we will see all the Deep South has to offer, starting and finishing in Invercargill, a city transforming for the future. Through fertile farmland, the rugged south coast, the beauty of Souhland and the majestic remarkables in Queenstown, all to push the country's top road cyclists to their absolute limit. 126 riders, 21 teams, over 860 kilometres and one winner. This is the 2022 SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Northern Southland played host to the Tour peloton on Wednesday as all eyes turned to the Remarkables mountain range near Queenstown. The pace was on early as the field flew out of Mossburn, hitting speeds of up to 60 kilometres per hour. Eventually, a group of 8 riders established a break, which got out to a 5-minute advantage before that was whittled away as the race approached Queenstown. ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast nailed their race plan to perfection, delivering their climber Carter Bettles in prime position at the base of the Skifield access road. And the Australian did the rest, emptying the tank up the 6-kilometre climb to ride into the yellow jersey and takes a 1-minute 21 advantage with 3 days remaining, including another climb up the infamous Bluff Hill.
Yeah, super stoked with yesterday, obviously. All the boys are really happy, and we had a good team meeting last night, and I think everyone's raring to go today. Should be a good day. This is their tour. They love it, the Kiwis. To talk about it all year. So to be in yellow and just to show, us Aussies, we're all right too. We're so happy with it.
Remarkables for me, it was just pretty much survival. Once we got onto a bit of a bunch, and then it split up, and then just getting up the hill, it was brutal. It was quite steep. I haven't ridden up that one. Like last time I did it, we didn't go up there. It's like, whew, yeah.
Leading up to the bottom of the remarks, some roadworks on the side of the road, and not really sure what happened. I think someone clipped the road cone, took a couple of people down, and next thing there's just someone down right in front of me, and nothing to do but hit them and hit the ground hard. Everyone's really enjoying it. So a few people are here because it was a bit of a bucket list for them. They're really keen to just get involved with the tour.
We're all kind of guys that have got involved in the track club, Canterbury Track Club. And that's how we kind of met, and decided to take on the big challenge. This week I've got Griff, my son, in the van, and my father-in-law Clark. So yeah, Griff's done it a couple of times, and Clark's ridden it many years ago.
Long time ago.
It's pretty cool. It's quite nice to be in the van, enjoying it so far. Giving Dad some advice and giving Granddad a little bit of a tough time in the van already, which is good. It's good fun.
At first I do an English school in Christchurch, and I try to find some people who want to do cycling for the round. And I find this team, and they asked me if I want to do Southland, so I decided yes. Today's stage will be a bit hectic, I think, with the wind. So yeah, we will see. I will try to be offensive. So yeah, motivation.
Yeah, Bluff Hill, at least it's a bit shorter and it's at the end, so if we can get to the bottom in one piece, just get up it, and hopefully the corner's not too slippery.
It's a brutal hill. It's super steep at the top there, but as you know, this stage, it's usually over before we even get there, so we just got to be defensive today. Just ride from the start and show how strong we are, and hopefully the other team's heads will roll off before we even get there.
Well, as we move into day 5 of this SBS Bank Tour of Southland, you can see the clouds have darkened. There's been a lot of rain overnight and the winds were pretty high as well, but it seems to have settled a little bit, which I know a number of these riders will be quite content with.
There's a lot more jackets and arm warmers in the peloton today, and a lot more apprehension, I think, going into today's stage. They know this one's a pivotal one, especially for the GC aspirated riders who are wanting to take over that. The Go Josh at the side of the road there from the kids. Josh Burnett will be one of those riders who's having a real hard think about how he's going to play this out. This is his day if he's wanting to get further up. The girls there from the girls' high school, just fantastic support, isn't it?
Absolutely. All these schools get right in behind it. And of course, Josh Burnett, this is a big day for him and his team from the Creation Science Mitre Q. It's a minute 21 behind the leader from Australia. It's going to be the Kiwis versus the Aussies, no doubt. That's been the talk since yesterday with the big climb where we saw the Australian in fine form indeed. But quite a different climb here today, Doug. Half the distance at 3 kilometres, and it's been around for about 40 years now, this Bluff Hill.
Yeah, Bluff Hill is steeped in history, in the folklore of New Zealand cycling and around the world. It is such a tough climb. What everyone forgets about Bluff Hill is you've got to get to the bottom with some legs, and this route that they take throughout the countryside in order to get to Bluff Hill is just going to soften them up.
Yes, it's very challenging indeed. It was changed about 4 or 5 years ago, this particular route that they take down to Bluff, and it now means they often end up with a bit of a block headwind. As we see Cooley again here from Share the Road, Macaulay Ford. He's off the front. He's been very proactive over the last few days, in fact, right from the very start of this year's tour, as we see a couple here of more riders trying to get across. The likes of Transport Engineering Southland, Deep South, they're trying to get themselves into the mix. That looks like the local man Keast. Of course, he's had a great couple of days off the front.
Yeah, the teams that are really pushing the pace at the start are the nominated ones that you've just described. They really have got good motivation. They are often sending a different group of riders from their team up the road in order to soften things up for their teammates. This group that's away at the moment, though, there's some serious hitters in there, and it could be the move that goes away at the start of this race.
This is always a very quick start, but today the wind not quite on their backs as much as what it typically has been. Again, of course, there could be a fair bit of fatigue factor in amongst this field here after a tough day out on the roads yesterday. And with these cooler conditions, of course, the bodies can react differently every day. They've been in the sunshine for a few days now, and they've been loving that there, and it's been high speeds. With the cooler conditions here, it's a bit damp, and those clouds are darkening up. They could be in for a bit of rain later on.
Yeah, the field still is all together. You see the shots from the back here, but at the front, the pace is just coming on here. The Transport Engineering South and Deep South team, they've really got a lot of motivation. We're coming in through woodlands now on the way out to the hillier stuff, but we are still, Nick Kurgazu, of course, who is the sprint ace. He's taking these points. He's quite well ahead on that points classification. It's a big ups to Nick, but there's still a lot of racing left. As you said, the fatigue's a factor. We're over halfway through, but there's still a lot left to play in this year's race.
So the peloton rolling along here. A few decent undulations as they make their way out towards Edendale and around the back of Wyndham, where traditionally we do see a group try and get themselves off the front. And as we say so, here's a team that's going off the front, in fact, and appearing. And it's the Oxford Edge team. Now, this is a great team that's come down for the last few years now, based out of Christchurch. They've also got the young rider from Switzerland who's over at the moment learning English. It's one of the Christchurch English schools here. As a few more riders also try to get across, and it's Keast again making the junction across.
Yeah, you often see this. These lads have obviously stuck to their knitting. The Oxford Edge boys, they've waited until the conditions have been a wee bit rougher. They've waited for the tour to progress as they go through. And sometimes these moves on the stage, and we've seen this in the past, things can break up. This particular area they're in has been used for a lot of national championship courses in the past in New Zealand cycling. It is not an easy place to be racing your bike.
We can see about 3 riders also now trying to make the junction across, and looks like at the rear of that group there is On Your Bike, 1.5 metres, a great message for out there, for the safety message here for these teams as they get around south and promoting it, along with likes of Share the Road. So great opportunity for these teams to get out there and share some key messages for the kids on the road, and they are very close to getting themselves across. Now if they do so, Duck, here, this is going to be a decent size sort of a group that could open up a decent gap if they start to roll well together.
Yeah, you can see here the peloton is just rolling along. We haven't had a massive crush going on yet in order to break things up, but that front group, especially with Hamish Keast, that man has been a workhorse for that Transport Engineering Southland Deep South team for a number of years. He is one guy you just want to have in a breakaway.
PowerNet's Ollie Jones has got himself there, so a lot of experience. He's the man on the front now, just drifting over to the left-hand side there of the road. And there's another man with a lot of experience who's been very proactive along with all of his teammates, of course, the Creation Signs Motupohue. Now, of course, they are a team here today, Doug, who have got a lot of cards to play. They are sitting currently in 2nd overall, and they've got the likes of Josh Burnett at 2nd place, but also Ben Oliver well up in the GC as well. So they'll be setting up their players to ensure that this chess on wheels is going to roll right through to Bluff.
The strategy involved in cycling is something that is steeped in mystery and a whole lot of things, but it is changing. It can be complex, but like you say, the Creation Signs Motupohue will be definitely putting George Jackson here in front to try and soften things up, to make the other teams chase, use up their energy so that they haven't got that to go up the Bluff Hill climb. So interesting strategy from the Creation Signs Motupohue guys.
So this group off the front now starting to settle into their paces. Now that's a great move by Oxford Edge, having 2 riders up there to try and challenge for stage victory. But of course, plenty of sprint points and King of the Mountains available here today for these riders.
The urgency in the peloton in contrast to the front of the group is quite dramatic, isn't it? We're rolling along here, 2 minutes 31 is the gap. There's no real mass panic going on at all from the peloton. The group out front, though, are swapping over nicely. You can see here George Jackson again. He hunts those points for this King of the Mountains jersey, doesn't he? Creation Signs Motupohue have definitely got a strategy to win all the jerseys this week. But it looks like George is saying, hey, enough's enough. This isn't going quickly enough for me. I'm just going to attack here and see if anyone goes away with me and split things up a bit. But gosh, it's just been one of these weeks.
Yeah, this tour certainly is one of those ones where a rider cannot go to sleep each night thinking, I've got the jersey all sewn up. Every day offers an opportunity for riders to try and steal some points, get away off the front, and we've seen it, and a number of these jerseys shift shoulders as we finish each of the stages, which is lining up to be a great battle for every one of the classifications as we get to the closing end of the tour.
Yeah, this is the front of the peloton now starting to split up a wee bit there. You can see that's the under 23 rider just scooting through to the front. The boys from Motupohue there in numbers as well, as is the tour leader here, just a wee bit isolated, the ARA pro racing lad from the Sunshine Coast. He'll be realising that Southland isn't all about sunshine today, I'm sure, but this front group has been whittled right back. This is the chasing group, of course, the main field, and the winds are really starting to play their part.
Yes, it's coming across their shoulder at the moment to these riders from right to left. They'll soon start to head up towards Gorge Road, which will be pretty much a block headwind for them as they go across eventually to State Highway 1 down into Bluff.
So here we are now back at the front of the peloton. We're about 12 kilometres from the outskirts of Bluff in the notorious Bluff Hill. The time gap is 2:53. Obviously here the Creation Signs Motupohue team are trying to control things. You can see there the yellow jersey back in about 7th or 8th position, just sheltering from this wind. It's starting to pick up and it is very exposed around this part of the road.
Meanwhile, the leaders on the road are entering the outskirts of Bluff here, and you can see now that they're starting to do a bit of the cat and mouse efforts as Fink decides to go off down the side of the road here. Now, this will be interesting to see the reaction. Of course, he's got his teammate Yarrell sitting inside there. This will be all planned. They can do the old 1-2 here. They have that opportunity, being the sole ones out the front there that have 2 team members in this leading group.
Yeah, it's always a brave move when you go taking off so early like that before the climb. You can see here back at the peloton, interestingly enough, as you scan along that row, no yellow jersey here in this group. The yellow jersey has been obviously gapped or distanced from this front group, and these guys will be making as much time as they possibly can.
Meanwhile, the front guys continue with about 5 kilometres coming up here for them here as the attacks go on, as they try and sneak themselves off. Now, part of this strategy will be, of course, that some of them know they're not the best of climbers. They'll want a bit of time on this lead group to try and get themselves up that hill.
Jelly tips.
Christmas on the beach.
Jet planes.
Pavlova.
Triblis.
Gene Bannon.
Bungee jumps.
Here we are, trying to outdo each other on YNZ's the best. Feel free to go outside and enjoy the view. Will be a while.
Dan Carter's Undie campaign.
So our chasing group in the closing kilometres here, minus the yellow jersey who's had a puncher. And these guys now will be starting to rethink the strategy here because they could make up some significant time here on the overall general classification. A lot of the big hitters still in the mix. They still have a chance to take out the stage victory here, but there's not too many kilometres remaining as we see Jackson and Yarrell. They'll be the first to swing right up into the hill climb.
Yeah, very, very bold move from these two here, leading into this last right-hander, as you said, before you start the climb. It's a very steep pinch right from the start. There is no respite as such on Bluff Hill. There's a wee bit of a kicker and you roll down for a start, but the chasing group and the benefits from that puncture that the tour leader has had probably will rely on the shoulders of Josh Burnett from the Creation Signs Motupohue team. He is really going to have to pull out a big one up this climb if he wants to win this year's SBS Bank Tour.
George Jackson is the man that's going to try and lead them up the base of the hill as we see the chasers. They are fair pounding it now down the main street of Bluff. They'll be getting in excess of 60k an hour here as they try and shut down the gap of these leaders. And of course, they still have the remnants of their breakaway group, and we can see a couple of them there starting to recover a little bit, trying to make up the ground on these leading two.
So George Jackson and Guy Yarrell still leading up this climb. They jumped away at the through the outskirts coming into Bluff. That effort may be compounding on these guys. The pursuers behind are starting to really rev up. There's Ben Oliver from the Creation Signs leading out his teammate Josh Burnett, setting him up for the base of the climb, and behind him is Michael Talker from the QFS squad. These guys are setting themselves up for this climb, but there's still a lot of work to catch these two who are out in front.
This is building up to be a fantastic finale on Bluff with our 3 groups on the road here on Bluff Hill. It is the 2 leaders out in front with George Jackson and Yarrow. Those 2 chasers weren't too far behind them, and here we have the remnants of the big hitters who are trying to take out the overall general classification.
Yeah, Bluff Hill is just such a tough climb, and you've got to hand it to George Jackson. He has been in the mix right from the start of this race, this year's SBS Bank Tour. Remembering, of course, he is a track teams pursuit rider as well. So this is astonishing, really, set of skills this boy is showing here today up this climb. And he's really put the heat on these guys, but they are starting to come back at him. He is going to have to ride a tempo type arrangement up this climb in order for him to have any gas to get up this last corner, which is extremely tough. There's probably not a lot like it in the world of cycling. So these guys are really starting to get, like you said, they're getting into the nitty-gritty of the stage.
So here we have the UK rider Dan Gardner starting to make his efforts onto the front in the blue colours of the Quality Foods Southland team. Ollie Jones also sitting on the back there from the PowerNet team. These guys are a couple of decent climbers who have made the junction here, and it will make life tough for that front 4. As we look back and see the green machine on the front, Ben Oliver, the mountain biker, the silver medalist from the Commonwealth Games, he is ripping it up here, and you can see Burnett just sitting back in that small group as they pick up the remnants of that breakaway.
Yeah, the speed at which these guys are chasing across, and Ben Oliver's effort especially setting up Josh Burnett from the Creation Signs Motupohue team. This is dramatic. This is all about trying to grab more seconds back in the yellow jersey contest, and you can see the poor remnants of this breakaway. Remembering these guys out in front have been away for over half the race, so very, very brave move by them. But this is the front group now coming into the toughest part of this particular stage, if not the whole race. This is brutal, the last climb going up Bluff. Everyone who's ridden this race in the past, and all the old bike riders looking at this, will have fond memories of enormous gears and incredibly sore legs going up this bit.
Yes, this is a very long straight, and what a great shot. You can see riders spread from one end of it to the other. It's about 1 kilometre long up that particular stretch, and here comes the kicker up this particular corner, the one which we've seen images over the years where riders have exploded, and Ollie Jones is doing exactly that, as is George Jackson. They are weaving all over the road. Meanwhile, the man out in front here, Gardner Doug, he has found his straps, he is away, and he is trying to take out a stage.
He is cruising up here like a jet engine. Dan Gardner from the UK, the Quality Foods Southland rider, Cam Scott, I'm sure, and Nick Morris will have plotted this one out for the last few days, and they'll have just been waiting to let this boy out of the box. What an incredible ride. This guy is seriously putting some time into the rivals up here. He's ridden a straight ride all the way up, no weaving, no zigzagging, and this man is really looking on form to take this stage.
This is pure power at its best. He made his move on the toughest part of Bluff Hill here and is settled into it. He has another quick look over the shoulders, but it looks like daylight for second here as he swings around the corner. The crowds get in behind him here. The 40th year up Bluff Hill, and he is going to add his name to an illustrious list of winners up Bluff Hill as part of this SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Dan Gardner, take a bow. What a fantastic effort.
Yeah, that is just astonishing. That would be one of the more powerful performances we've seen up Bluff Hill in the last few years of this SBS Bank Tour. That man has really shown some skills getting up there and has put some time on his rivals. You can see here George Jackson just coming across the line, and Guy Yarrell from the Oxford Edge. An amazing ride from these boys. Been away for, like we said, half the day, and there's Josh Burnett and Ben Oliver taking the minor placings in this stage. They'll be looking at the stopwatches straight away.
The time now begins to tick here to see what sort of a dent they have put into the aspirations of the man in yellow as he continues to make his way up the hill here. These riders start to go into recovery mode. What a day out on the bike it has been for them as Boris Clark, a former yellow leader in this particular tour, comes over to Gardner, his teammate, to congratulate him on an outstanding effort up Bluff Hill as we see the man in yellow chewing on the handlebars, trying to make sure that he can pull it back here and secure that yellow going into the second to last day of the tour.
So a big day in the office for the yellow jersey wearer in this year's SBS Bank Tour, having a punch and some misfortune. There is another couple of days left to go yet, and you never say never in a race like the SBS Bank Tour of Southland.
After a tough stage to Bluff, we see the leaders board tighten up at the top of the general classification, with Bettles now holding a 20-second advantage over the local man Burnett and Kench at 32 seconds. Nick Kirkazoo continues with his pattern of picking up some early sprints in the stage, now to lead at 29 points from Harvey and Jackson. While George Jackson off the front all day long puts himself firmly into the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains with 37 points. Joshua Kench continues to be Mr. Consistent, leading in the Henderson Construction under 23 from Yarrell and Murphy. While Michael Torkler slips down the leaders board in the general classification, he continues though to hold on to the Stonewood Homes silver jersey. Guy Yarrell, after being the initiator to the break of the day, is awarded the Macleay Jewelers Most Combative. Quality Foods Southland will be a happy camp this evening after taking out both the stage victory and leading in the Wednesday Cycles team classification.
I got up the road and hunted those KOM points down, and then got up for second, and then Josh and Ben were right up there as well.
I'm chuffed, honestly. I knew this stage was going to suit me, so I had it penciled in, and yeah, it's been quite a rough year to be honest, and like this has been a real cherry on top, and very happy. Yeah, they were attacking non-stop today, and luckily my boys were up for the challenge. You know, they were riding amazingly at the start, and yeah, I got a bit unlucky there getting a puncture 7Ks to go, but luckily I still had my teammate Brady left feeling fresh, and he did the biggest 5K burner I've ever seen, and he brought that deficit back to about 20 seconds or 30 seconds at the bottom of the hill, and then all I had to do was go as hard as possible.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at tourofsouthland.com.